He-Man. It's Ram Man, Mayonnaise Guy. Here comes Stratos. I think I only like the bad guys. He-Man was a show from the 80s that was very much loved and renowned by children, including myself.
He-Man was a syringe of nostalgia injected right into our eyeballs.
He-Man was buff.
He sure was. So was Skeletor, too.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to Fallingtower's Watch the First podcast, the podcast in which we watch the first episode so that you don't have to. You don't have to spend 20 minutes of your life watching this episode. You could just spend 60 minutes of your life watching this podcast instead. Michael Kenyon Rosenberg, comedian, musician, writer, is joining us as always. He's the co-founder, co-CEO, and Coca-Cola Classic of Falling Tower. Also joining us is actor Darnell Davis.
Hey, everybody.
My name is Ryan T. Husk, and today we are reviewing He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. Episode 1, Diamond Ray of Disappearance. If you'd like us to review the first episode of a series, just say WTF Smurfs. That stands for Watch the First Smurfs, or WTF Castle. Watch the First Castle. Say that in the comments below. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, and give us a thumbs up. Give us a bell icon, punch, smash. Hit it like He-Man would. Moving on. Before we get too deep into this, we're going to predict something. Mike and I are...
Guestimations, we'll call it.
Mike and I... Oh, good one. But then that would mean that Darnell would do it because he's the guest. So... So Mike and I are going to guess... I had a very neutral opening to try to throw Mike off the scent. We're going to guess if the other person liked it. Michael, I'm going to guess that you enjoyed He-Man. Not tip-top, super-duper enjoyment, but solid, fun, all-around, totally happy with it enjoyment. What's your guess for me, since we've known each other like 25 years?
Right. I would guess that you enjoyed it quite a lot. I would say a lot. I mean, I would say the whole time you were watching it, you're like, oh, yeah. You know, like you do.
Yeah, and just for, well, I won't tell you if that's accurate, though.
Well, later. Watch to find out.
Yeah, and just for bonus points, everybody at home, make your predictions. By the way, this is the time for you to make your predictions. Write it out in the live chat. Do you think I liked it? Do you think Mike liked it? Do you think Darnell liked it? Extra points. Darnell, do you think we liked it? I think you liked it.
You think I liked it? It's hard to say for both of you. I think you're both at that ripe age that, you know what, this was it. We're
ripe.
Show.
We're mature. We're ready to consume.
Oh, the generation you mean, right?
I'm talking about the generation, the nostalgia that this is. And, you know, first off, can we get a moment of silence? This was in the 80s. 1980 was 40 years ago, guys. 40 years.
I refuse to acknowledge that.
I had to count it on my fingers. I saw that and I was like, no, that can't be true.
We're going to edit all this part out anyway.
I think...
I like to say to my wife, I'm not getting old. Just all the shows that I liked when I was a kid are getting old now.
Everything else is getting old, right? My body's getting old. Okay, so then now we're going to move on. Before we answer the question as to whether we liked it, we're going to talk about what we expected versus what we got. Okay?
Almost.
Yeah, that's true. Michael, you're right. Stay tuned for that. First, Michael is going to tell us what the plot of He-Man is, for those of you that don't know.
The most powerful man in the universe, He-Man, goes against the forces of Skeletor to save the planet Eternia and to protect the secrets of Castle Grayskull. In this episode, Skeletor uses the Diamond of Disappearance to cause King Randor, Queen Marlena, Man-at-Arms, and the Sorceress all to disappear. Now, He-Man and Teela must find a way to get them back. That's how I said that.
Juicy. That one made me feel like a sour apple blow pop. You know, liked it.
All right.
So now we talk about what we expected versus what we got. I'll tell you what I expected. What I expected was a fun show that I liked when I was a little kid, and I used to dream about, and still kind of do sometimes. And like all of the, think the characters are cool and fantasize about it. That's what I expected. What did you expect?
Me?
Michael, sorry.
Michael, I'm Michael, by the way. I expected to watch a television show that I had vague recollections of from when I was a child. I did watch it when I was a child, but I wasn't like obsessed with it like Ryan was apparently. But I was expecting to watch a show from the 80s. 1980s.
Had you watched it when you were a kid?
Yeah.
Okay. Darnell, what did you expect before you watched this first episode?
I expected just an action-packed cartoon. I expected from beginning to end lots of fights, lots of just laser blasts, lots of energy. That's what I expected, and I'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to what we saw.
Nice.
But that's what I expected.
Well, that's what we expected. But what did we get? What did you get, Michael?
Oh, I thought you were going to go first.
I know. I threw it off. My bad. What did you get, Michael?
What I got was a pretty good fantasy cartoon that took place in another world, and it definitely felt otherworldly, and there was magic, like real magic, not just like fake magic. Even the Orko was his magic skills were questionable. I mean, but he was performing real magic. It wasn't like sleight of hand or anything like that. So yeah, but that's I got pretty good fantasy cartoon.
What did you get, Darnell?
I got not one punch. Nobody got punched.
There was one punch. Wasn't there?
If there was a punch,
yes, I know exactly where it was too, but I'm not going to tell you.
Okay, maybe it was one punch, and there was 3 throws, and everybody had swords, but the swords hit each other like once or twice, and there was a tiger fight for like 2 seconds.
Right.
Yeah.
I was surprised by this because I remember I was older when this came out. And I remember being such a big deal that the show was so violent. So I was going in like, oh, let's see it. And then I'm watching it and I'm like, oh, what were they talking about? What was the complaint? Because there wasn't any. It was not action-packed like I expected.
Well, we will address that a little later because that's a good talking point.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll tell you what I got. By the way, the punch was the rock monster.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
He punched the rock monster, and that was
punch,
it.
and it was gone.
One hitter quitter. So I'll tell you what I got. I got a big, fat, juicy 80s style disappointment.
Oh.
And I was Mike knows I'm kidding. Psych out, you guys. This is the 80s. Psych. No.
Good psych. Psych, bro.
I enjoyed every minute of it.
I thought you might, yeah.
I enjoyed it because even the stuff that sucked or even the stuff that I could make fun of I still enjoyed, like it was all just happy feelings. It was all just like, even if it sucked, I'm like, oh God, He-Man's so cheap. the animation so cheap.
Right. Yeah.
And I know what Darnell's talking about with the fights, and we could actually talk about that right now if you'd like.
Sure.
Yeah.
The thing is that I'm assuming they're just trying to cut corners with animation, and that they're trying to avoid too much violence. So a lot of times what they would do is they wouldn't show the violent act. They would show the result of the violent act, where it's like suddenly you turn to He-Man and there's a guy rapping and, hold it, and they're struggling, but they didn't actually show the guy come up to him and tackle him and, and when somebody runs up to He-Man, it wasn't like a duck and a wrestle or anything. He just walks right up and it just goes like this, goes, okay, come throw me now. And then He-Man just goes, need a lift, or whatever, and just tosses him. So
there's also a lot of reuse too. Like when He-Man punches that rock monster, that punch is from the opening sequence too. And like He-Man punches the screen, but it's that same punch that he punches the rock monster with.
Right. You also see that when they're flying their ships, and it's like the same guy gets recycled over and over again.
Right.
That's how the song goes.
Ah.
It reminds me of a generation before, the Marvel daily comics that would be on TV.
Cool.
The characters didn't move except for the arm and and the leg and the mouth. So the character was staying still,
right,
and barely anything else moved. I didn't realize they still did that, in the 80s, because that in the 60s they even had games about it where you actually took it home and you put it on and you could move the arm around and you can do the same thing that was going on in the cartoon.
Huh.
I thought it was going to be different for He-Man, and I remember watching this in high school, college, and I'm watching it, and I must have watched it and I must have enjoyed it because I watched it through, because when the movie came out, I was like, oh, Orko's not in it. So I knew enough about it that, but I guess I must have liked it to watch it, but now at this age, Darnell, it's not happening. But, I am a huge animation fan, huge. You guys did the Venture Brothers, love Venture Brothers. I love all the DC animated movies. I'm a huge animated person, but this is one of the beginning ones, and it just didn't do it for me.
You guys can't really tell because he's drawn really well, but Darnell actually is animated. So.
Yeah, he's a huge animated person. Move my arm. Well, the show starts off like I refer to my notes often, and the first thing in my notes is it jumps right in on the theme song, and I am pumped because it just jumps right into it. Like all of a sudden there's the He-Man song playing. He's the most powerful man you, and you're like, yeah, we're watching He-Man now. This is exciting. This is fun. So what do you guys think of the He-Man theme song?
I hate origin stories. I really do. I was happy that they didn't do that, but I was surprised that they didn't do a Gilligan's Island or a Brady Bunch style origin during the theme song, so that you can have the explanation and you wouldn't have to worry about it. What they do is, I think every episode, he just explains what goes on every episode, right? The same thing he did.
Well, the theme song does kind of explain it. It does say, he says, all that changed with the day I held aloft my magic sword, said by the power of Grayskull, and these are the only three people that know the secret, and I'm Adam, Prince of Eternity. I mean,
would that be considered the theme song?
Yeah, pretty much walks us through it. Yeah.
He's talking through. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if that's the case, then that is a Gilligan's Island type.
I'm naked He-Man.
Yeah.
I only wear fur underwear.
And a terrible haircut, but we didn't care. We don't care.
Yeah, I like it that it's like Prince Adam and He-Man are the same guy, but they're just wearing different clothes, and like nobody was like, hey, aren't you He-Man, Prince Adam? Like,
yeah, Adam, what are you wearing? What are you not wearing? What's going on? Why is your voice lower?
Yeah.
Prince Adam's family, they make Lois Lane look really, really good.
Yeah, they're just a bunch of
the
idiots.
worst secret identity I've ever seen.
It's not even like Clark Kent where you have the glasses. Okay.
No.
There was nothing. And he walks around with a tiger. He-Man has a tiger. It was just,
Right.
you know.
Plus,
The same color, too.
How is Adam such a wimp when he's that freaking
I know.
buffed?
Right.
I'm scared of him. So,
But everybody in He-Man's in Eternia is buff though.
Everybody,
Skeletor,
yeah.
he's a skeleton, but he's
Just
super
his
buff.
face. Just his face.
Right, but he's super buff. I mean, he's like he's jacked.
They all are.
Man at Arms, even the
except for
king.
Ram Man. Ram Man's not.
Yeah, Ram.
But even he's got like pretty good muscly arms. I remember
Right.
the toy. But look, here's the key. For me, what I liked about it, I think there are two things I liked about He-Man as a kid, and this holds true right now, is I never really cared that much about He-Man himself. Like, I thought that the world was amazing. It was just this crazy fantasy world where there's all these different types of creatures and monsters and magic and characters, and everybody's buff and they fight. And I mean, it was just,
except the women. Everyone's buff except the women.
no, they're pretty ripped. I mean, they're toned and
they're
tall.
toned. They're not ripped though.
They're okay, but they it's this world that's just so, it's the perfect setting for anything, any kind of characters, any kind of creatures, or any kind of things to happen. And the other thing is the characters, especially like the bad guys or the lesser used characters, were the more interesting ones to me. Like He-Man, Adam, Prince Randar, King Randar, Man at Arms was okay, but I liked all the other ones because they got to be as creative as they wanted with these characters. You have Merman, you have Trapjaw, you have Stratos. Later on you have like Cyclone. There's all these cool characters. You can do anything you want. Here's a beast guy, here's a leech guy, here's a skunk guy. That's what was cool to me. What do you guys think? What makes He-Man the best show ever?
I don't know about best show ever, but it was a good show. And I agree that the fantasy elements are definitely the thing that I found the most fascinating about rewatching it now as an adult. I mean, obviously, we love nerdy things like Lord of the Rings and World of Warcraft and stuff like that. Like, all of us love that kind of stuff. So yeah, fantasy is obviously really cool, and to see like this cool fantasy world where there's and I agree that all the cool lesser known characters. Ram Man was one of the favorite toys that I had when I was a kid, because you can like compress him and then he like jumps forward or something. I don't remember exactly how it worked, but
I have a confession about Ram Man very quickly.
Okay.
So
did you ram him?
Our friend Ben Long, that I grew up with as a kid, Michael knows him. Shout out to Ben Long. We used to go play He-Man together because I had a few and he had a truckload. And so we would combine them and play He-Man all day, and it was super fun, right? I didn't like Ram Man, the character, all that much, and Ben would always be Ram Man. But then I really grew to hate Ram Man when Ben shoved him in a mayonnaise jar and leg first. So then when the legs compressed and went inside, then he had mayonnaise up inside of him. And when his legs were ribbed, super ribbed. And when you pulled it out, like it was like, and there was just like mayonnaise in the legs, and it was just like for days and months, and it would just kind of like get crusty and warm and stinky, and you can't wash that. So anyway, I was like, you keep your damn Ram Man as far away from me as possible, because I hate mayonnaise.
Yeah, Ryan hates mayonnaise.
So anyway, I didn't mean to go on that
even
tangent,
vegan mayonnaise. He won't touch it.
But still, to this day, when I saw Ram Man on that cartoon, I was like, ugh, gross, dude.
I was looking online at some different things, and the one thing that it said was Ram Man definitely had brain damage from doing what he did.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure.
That's probably why you hated him. He was actually, he needed sympathy though, because everybody else, like you said, was buff, and he looked weird and didn't
right. Yeah. he's all short and like squat and like his body works weird.
I was just glad that everybody else liked him. I was like, good, because I don't want to play him. Because
You
you
don't
when
want
you're
to play
a kid,
with mayonnaise.
you kind of everybody picks the toys that you want to be. So you're glad when somebody else likes the other toys. You know?
Ram mayonnaise.
Yeah, I didn't even want to be He-Man when we play He-Man.
I was like Trapjaw. That was my favorite.
He was one of my favorites too.
When I was a kid, yeah.
He reminds me of Baron Underbite from the Venture Brothers. I know you guys are.
Oh yeah, I could see that. No, I've seen it a good fair amount of the Venture Brothers.
Yeah.
More
Baron
like
Underbite
boring Underbite.
Well, I mean, obviously,
he's Dr.
that's
Doom, but with Trapjaw, so.
seems like that's who Baron Underbite was fashioned after. If
Probably was, and Dr. Doom. He's definitely Dr. Doom, but yeah. But the Underbite is that it seems like it probably was. So.
Right.
So that leads us to the big question of the day, which is at the very beginning, and this was kind of an origin story in that they gave us an introduction to the characters without it being a full introduction story. You know what I mean? So it could be considered a third episode pilot, which is just kind of like they drop you in into a regular episode, basically.
Right.
But they gave us these extra lines, like he says, like, Merman! You know, what does he say about Merman? He says, Warlord of water, master of fish, lakes, and streams, come to me, or whatever he says in Evil Lyn. So he gives this little introduction to every one of them. So we as the viewer, we go, ooh, this guy control Warlord of water, master of fish, lakes, and streams. That doesn't... You could have just said Warlord of Water. When it started getting like tapering off to like weaker and weak streams.
And ponds.
Master of drippy faucets. Ugh, he's tough. But anyway,
was my favorite part of the episode. That I actually wrote that down. That was my favorite part. I love the roll call. Just calling up everybody and saying, you know what? Come to me, and introducing them, and we got to see them. That was definitely my favorite. It reminded me in the comic books that Legion of Superheroes in the comic books would have at the bottom, because they had so many members in their group.
Right.
They on the first page they would list, okay, roll call. Superboy's in this, Supergirl's in this, Chameleon Boy, Brainiac. You know, but that would be the roll call, and that's what it showed. It gave us like, okay, what villains are we seeing today? And that was cool. So.
That's a good point.
I liked it too because I didn't really remember everybody's names from when I was a kid. I'm sure you did, but yeah, like obviously I knew Man at Arms and I remember Orko, but I didn't remember Sorceress. I didn't remember Evil Lyn. I obviously knew Skeletor and Trapjaw, but I didn't really remember Triclops But by the way, Triclops, but he's only got one eye at a time. So why do they call him Triclops? He's got three different eyes.
Three different options. Yeah,
I guess that makes a little bit more sense, but
it's more like Tricyclops.
Right? Yeah.
But to Darnell's point here, I do like the roll call thing, and that reminds me of Mask. That should be another good one. WTF Mask, ladies and gentlemen, because that was a good one because they would say like, for this mission, the people best suited for this is this guy because he has this, and this guy because he has that. And you're like, oh, I'm ready now. I've gotten briefed. I've been briefed on the mission. But yeah, everybody that Mike has pictured behind him, Man at Arms, Sorceress, and Orko, those were other characters I didn't much give a shit about. So Ben was always like the girls and Adam and Orko. Orko I just flat out didn't like.
Really?
I just didn't like. I actually didn't like him. I
liked Orko.
I know, but I didn't like him.
My favorite character because I loved Batmite, and it seemed like it was a direct, almost the exact same thing as Batmite. And
well, he's kind of an elf too. You can tell by his ears. He's got some kind of elf ears or something like that.
But I felt like every time he was in a scene, it suddenly turned into a slapstick comedy. And I wanted to see the monsters. I wanted to see the fights and the struggles and the crazy new characters. And then Orko would come along and the silly music would come and and be like, I'm gonna do it. And I was just like, man.
But he's the comic relief. But
I didn't want comic relief. I wanted awesome
What an action.
monsters. Yeah.
He's the one that makes King Randor go, ho, 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 ho. Oh, Orko.
Yeah. So the question here is, of the 6, no, we're going to say of the 5 villains that were introduced other than Skeletor, that's Beastman, Evelyn, Merman, Trapjaw, and Triclops. Which was your favorite?
I remember
Darnell, you said Trapjaw, right?
I liked Trapjaw, but I remember I was a teenager when this came out, so definitely was Evelyn. So,
Oh, okay.
You know,
Why?
I don't know what her powers are. I don't know what's going on. I have no idea.
You just wanted some yellow booty, huh?
I just liked her when, you know, but I as far as the rest of their powers, Trapjaw is funny, like I said, but I liked them all, but probably just Skeletor just really outshined them all. So it was hard to concentrate on anybody with Skeletor.
Yeah.
He was great. He was hilarious. You know?
He-Man!
Exactly. That's hilarious.
What about you, Michael?
I'm a Trapjaw guy.
Why?
He's got the different replaceable parts on his arm. That's pretty cool to me. It's like he can be whatever your Skeletor needs him to be. He could be a laser
he had a hard
gun.
time putting on whatever he was putting
Right.
on.
I know. I was
You're like,
embarrassed
okay.
for him. I
think I remember when I was a kid, he came with like a grappling hook gun or something like that.
He was introduced as Wizard of Weapons. And the first thing we see is him being a bumbling idiot of weapons. So that was a little disappointing, but that was, again, the comic relief kind of would disappoint me a little bit in He-Man, because I wanted all of them to just be awesome. And it was just a battle between awesomes. But then they would introduce these awesome new characters and make them be complete morons, you know? And that was kind of a bummer. So I was always kind of a little bit let down, because it'd be like a really cool character that would just be like, we're supposed to, I don't know, they're just dumb.
Well, it also seems like nobody can really compare to He-Man anyway. There's nobody who is a match for, I mean, at least that I've seen in this first episode.
Right.
Even this rock monster that Skeletor creates out of thin rock. It's like one punch and whoosh.
It didn't even like try to block. It didn't take a swing. It didn't even do anything. It just walked right up and was like, all right, have at it. Just like whatever. That's what everybody does with He-Man, though. They roll over for him. I think that if they put up a good fight, there'd be a chance, but they always roll over for He-Man. Trapjaw is my guy, too. Beastman looks like he could be the coolest, but he's dumb.
He's kind of lame. I have a question for Ryan, because I don't remember. We get Cringer talking, but does Battlecat also talk?
He did talk for a moment. That's Alan Oppenheimer, right? That does the voice for Man-at-Arms and Skeletor and Battlecat, if I remember correctly, and maybe Cringer.
Well, they only had 4 people doing the voices for everybody. So
Right. But this Alan Oppenheimer guy also was in a Star Trek episode where he was the captain of the Odyssey. And when you hear him talking on Deep Space Nine, when you hear him talking, it just feels like you're hearing Battlecat talk. When he's like, it sounds like.
I was really surprised that Cringer talked. I had totally forgot that.
Me too. Yeah.
And I was really surprised, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I mean, he was really scared. It wasn't like Adam was just putting on an act, but he was really scared the whole time until he changed. So.
Yeah, he was also comic relief. By the way, did you guys notice how Trapjaw and Teela had such different stances on the battle ram? That's like the flying thing.
No, I don't remember.
I do not.
Okay, let me.
Of course, Ryan pays attention to those kinds of minute details.
It jumped out at me, man. It was like, what the heck's going on around here?
I have another question for Ryan while he's looking that up.
Please.
What is this thing on Man-at-Arms is like right below his chin?
A neck protector. Okay.
Why is it so big in front of his face?
Yeah, it seems a little cumbersome. I think it's just, okay, so look at look at, see how he's, it looks like
Pumping
he's
it, yeah.
pretty, yeah, it does. That's the thing. It does look like he's giving it a thrust, right? He looks
Yeah.
like he's putting in a serious thrust, right? And this made me think like this might be kind of like a sexual thing, because if you'll notice, his stance is thrusting into it, right? Now give me a moment, and it seems like Tila is also kind of in a sexual kind of position, but maybe maybe more of a receiver. I don't know how else to say it.
Oh my God.
But she's totally different.
I wouldn't have noticed if you hadn't brought this up, man.
But
Now I can't.
now, if you put those two together, he's certainly. And so then
What once has been seen cannot be unseen.
because I'm trying to figure out, like, I put the two pictures together afterwards. I looked at it and I was like, why do they have such different positions on it? And why did the artist do that? And I was like, maybe it's because she has really long legs and he has short legs, so maybe her legs were so long that she was out. I don't know. I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt here and just say it's because of the long legs.
Well, I think what it is like we were talking before, they're just using the picture of them that they already have made up. They're not adjusting it. They just bent her waist and put it in. And you're right. It's probably her legs are just so long that they stick out, but his legs are shorter. And that's what I'm going with, because, I think it's a good, honest, nice kiddie show, and I want to keep it that way. So.
Yes. And these things are called battle rams. And I think it's got like maybe a ram's head. I don't know.
Everything in this show is like something, like He-Man,
Robot
Tila.
Knights.
Yeah.
Robot Knights.
Yeah.
Speaking of
Ram Man, Beast Man, Merman.
Trap Jaw.
Right.
the battle ram, speaking of battle ram and everything, wasn't this the first show that was made from the toy to the cartoon? So they were selling everything. The point was not to make a cartoon. The point was to make the toys. So It was just an advertisement for the toys. So that's
G.I. Joe was a toy back in the 50s or something, though, wasn't it?
but it wasn't
Different,
made.
though,
Yeah, I don't think it was. This one was specifically made for this. I think that's what it was made.
I don't know if it was the first, but I definitely heard that as well. And it totally worked, but they shouldn't have made the characters bumbling idiots, because if you just see this guy and it says, he's the master, a wizard of weapons and this and that, you're like, cool. I want to add that toy to my collection because I'm going to make him fight the other guys. It's going to be totally fun. And so that works. And that's why they created this world where you can be Beast Man, you can be Ram Man, and it's like a different thing for everybody. Maybe some people really like cats, so they're like, I like Battle Cat, or some people really like birds, so they're like, oh, I like the bird, that was brilliant marketing, and it totally worked on me because I wanted all these little guys. That's all I have to say about that.
Oh, okay. I definitely enjoyed the toys when I was a kid too. I mean, especially was Snake Mountain had like the microphone snake that you could like. It was like kind of like it was like a voice emulator or something like that, or kind of like made your voice distorted or something like that. So that was a pretty cool toy, I thought. I didn't have it, but a friend of mine had it, and I remember liking to play with that. But it broke pretty easily, I think, also, which was probably another one of their strategies, is make the toys break easily so that when you play hard with them, then I got to buy a new one now.
Gotta get them all.
Let's talk about the humor. Oh, no, please, Darnell, finish your story.
No, I had no stories. I didn't buy any. I was just going to bring up whatever the thing was that he had in the little box, and it just brought me to 2020. The whole point, what was the name of the episode? The something ray, death of something.
Diamond Ray of Disappearance.
Yeah. It reminded me of an Infinity Stone. So that's it brought me up to the future today, because I was thinking.
And then He-Man just crushed the diamond with his bare hands. He's not just a man. He's a He-Man.
I know, when you think about that name, that's the worst. What is that even? What are we even doing here?
He-Man. It
They
should be
couldn't say Macho
She-Woman
Man.
instead of She-Ra.
That's right. So the other thing is the humor. The humor in He-Man. I remember when I was a kid, I felt like I should like the humor, like the witty banter that He-Man would do, and I kind of liked it, but again, I didn't really watch it necessarily for He-Man, and so I put in my notes a few of the things he says while he fights. It's always when he fights, like he goes, "Need a lift?" or "Sorry to leave you hanging in that tree," or whatever. But so first thing he says is, "Next time you might try knocking." And then the next one is, "Keep your fangs to yourself, beast man." And then he says, "Try swimming in mud." And he throws him in. And the funny thing is when he threw Merman in the mud, Merman was so pissed about it. He's just like, "I'll get you for this." For what? Why just get up and go back and fight him some more? Because it's 1 foot deep.
I love that Ryan does his voices every time he says something. That's great.
Yeah.
This show is Ryan's reward for patience. Being
For 33
patient.
other episodes.
Yeah.
This was our Club 33 episode.
Right. Yeah. No, this was 34, I believe.
Right, but after we had the
After
club
we
of
did
33 episodes,
then we get to enjoy the spoils of your patience. Also, it was recommended to us, but then also we saw that there was like a reissuing of He-Man toys or something like that, or something. Wasn't that it?
Did we forget to mention who suggested it? It was Bill Erickson out in the sunny skies of Montana, otherwise known by his YouTube handle, War Dog High.
Thank you, War Dog Heim.
Anyway, so you said there's a reissuing, eh?
I thought I saw that. Didn't I message you that or something? Like, I don't know. I saw this. There's like an ad with somebody playing with He-Man toys, and I was like, time to do He-Man. Thanks, War Dog Heim.
Yeah, I would have done it anyway.
Ryan's patience paid off. You would have done it, but I wouldn't have done it unless it was recommended, which it finally was.
So if anybody else wants to make Ryan happy, WTF Transformers, WTF Robotech, WTF Bionic 6, WTF Seinfeld, WTF Three's Company, WTF He-Man Origins, because there's a new He-Man. Well, not new. It's like 2002, it said, but that
WTF
counts.
She-Ra.
Yeah.
WTF Smurfs.
I like
Mask.
I never watched that.
Silverhawks.
I had a couple that I thought would be good for you.
Dungeons and Dragons. WTF Dungeons and Dragons. Sorry, go ahead, Darnell.
I thought that it was because our good friend John Semper produced and wrote the Spider-Man show. What is it called? It's called not the New Adventures. Maybe it's the New Adventures of Spider-Man, or that came on in the 90s.
WTF, one of those Spider-Man shows.
Absolutely. And but for Ryan, because I think this is the perfect part for him, I think you should do Archer. Have you ever seen it, Ryan? I know you hadn't seen it last time I asked you about it.
No, but every time somebody says, "I think you'll like this show," they're wrong.
Not just that you will like it, that you should play this in the live action. This is you.
Some people have told me I look like Archer. That's how I know about the show.
Yeah.
He looks like the guy. He's a good-looking guy. He's very funny, and he has a license to kill, which I think yours is still up to date, right? So,
I didn't go in this year because of the pandemic. I'll do it when
it'll be easy. It'll be perfect for you guys. So you guys should.
I think they're going to do it online soon, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, WTF Archer, Jonathan Archer. So that's a Star Trek joke.
Yeah.
Also, He-Man, by the way, they also tell us is the most powerful man in the universe. So that way we can accept him squatting inside of a crack and literally moving the earth apart to widen it and get a diamond that's not very deep, I guess.
And crushing a diamond with his bare hands also.
That's
A
pretty
diamond,
strong.
the strongest material on Earth, crushed with his bare hands.
And that brings him up to like
Superman level.
Yeah, that means who is going to beat him on, what is it, Eternia? There's nobody that
Right.
can.
No.
There's nobody that can.
Not even
Home
Man at
turf.
Arms with his weird neck shield.
So who do you guys think would win between the good guys and bad guys if He-Man were dead? Do you think that's it? Skeletor takes over? Or do you think there's enough
I think so.
masters of the universe to save the day?
I'm going with Skeletor, although we didn't get a good introduction of the characters. I'd have to get a refreshing of the good guys. We got to see the bad guys, but just Skeletor by itself, I think he's crafty enough to probably win, unless Sheila comes around, She-Ra comes, and then
Right.
and then they would win. So
Well, one thing that I found interesting is we didn't really find out too much about the sorceress.
Right.
But apparently her powers are tied to Castle Grayskull is one thing that we found out. So I'm wondering how powerful she would be if she were in the vicinity of Castle Grayskull. But then also, Evelyn is also a sorceress. So like they're both sorceresses. So I guess that's not like a good or evil thing. It's just to be a sorceress. But I would kind of like to see them go toe-to-toe.
there probably was an episode.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
I feel like, yeah. There definitely needs to be, if they reboot it, there need to be more women, though. There's the sorceress, where, she has telepathy and weird clothes. There's Tila, who's the champion of the guards with weird clothes. There's the queen, whose name I couldn't even remember because she hardly said anything.
Queen Marlena.
And then there's Evelyn, who the toy was yellow. Like her skin was yellow. So she has jaundice, poor thing.
I think that's why they made She-Ra, because just so that young girls would have a toy to buy and felt that they were being represented, and they
female He-Man.
Yeah.
Well, the new He-Man show that Kevin Smith is doing is actually, He-Man is not the main character, supposedly. It's Tila. It's like the adventures of Tila, but then it should just be called like Tila and the Masters of the Universe or something. So
is it live action?
Point.
No, I think I believe it's animated, and it's going to be like a serialized 8 or 10 episode Tila saves the day kind of adventure thing. But I'm just glad to have something revisiting Eternia, and like the reimagining of these characters. They'll probably draw them all bigger and meaner and more muscly.
I'm curious. You were talking about the jokes you said, and him being so big. Do you guys think this was just based on how popular Arnold was at the time? Because he did the exact same Arnold would do. Arnold will, I promise to kill you last, or
right. You mean Kevin Arnold of the Wonder Years, right?
Arnold, exactly. Yeah, wasn't that the skinny one? Yeah, exactly. But yeah,
Kevin Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah,
it could be.
Yeah, I really think it probably had a lot to do with him, because the jokes and everybody just being so buffed, and
everyone's jacked, right? Yeah.
They have. I remember we counted one time. They don't have a 6-pack. They have a 16-pack. Every one of them. Everyone, because they're like go out the sides, and I mean they're just. Whew, those guys are roided up, dude, and that's why they're all really dumb,
Yeah. Good point.
Yeah. So
steroids make you dumb, kids. So stay away.
And a lot of them like to wear Speedos or really tight clothing. Like, is anybody not wearing tight clothing or
fur
Speedos?
underwear?
What would be the point if you're that?
He's wearing chaps too.
Yeah. Yeah, you want to be able to show off all your muscly muscles, right?
You worked out that hard. You're showing it off every single moment you got. Look at that guy.
Is Trapjaw, is he wearing a blue body leotard and his skin is really green like his face? or does his face just go from green and then once it hits his neck, he turns blue?
Good.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
You thought that, really?
Well, I thought he was kind of little like a bit of a Frankenstein, right? Like he looks like he was like
that's
created.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I didn't think about that.
Hmm.
At least that's what I thought when I was a kid.
And we're introduced to a couple of the characters of the good guys. What did we get? Ram Man and Stratos. But that's really it of the extra good guy heroes. That's the only two that we were introduced to.
Yeah, Man at Arms was pretty worthless this episode, huh?
In a lot of episodes, he really kind of was. Tila was kind of like the second person in He-Man,
I remember in the movie, there's a line where she does something really fantastic and she looks at the camera and says, "Women at arms." So just making the point that she really was,
Is
a
this
super
the Dolph Lundgren He-Man? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I don't know if they made an animated movie, but yeah, the Dolph Lundgren movie. So yeah, she was. I agree. She was the second as far as I remember from watching the show.
Yeah, I never saw the movie.
You never saw the movie?
The Dolph Lundgren one. Nuh-uh. Nay, I heard it was not good, so I didn't watch it.
Well, it wasn't good, but but you love He-Man though.
I know.
I love this He-Man. I don't like some weird live action thing. No interest in that. I don't know. Maybe I would. I would definitely watch the 2002 one, though. What do you guys think? Last big topic that I kind of wanted to talk about. I really like the world, not just the figurative world that, in screenwriting, which is the arena they created, but like the actual world. I mean, look, there's purple rocks and green skies. Like everything was very like rocks were all jutting out and everything's kind of spiky and there's a lot of greens and a lot of purples and there's like swamps and jungles and mountains. It's all kind of very interesting and colorful and harsh conditions. What do you think of that? I loved it. I think that just added to the fun, but then it also makes you think like, how do they build these ships?
I wouldn't want to live there.
There are no factories.
Yeah, it seems harsh.
Well, there's no factories that we have seen. But yeah, I say yeah, I agree. Yes, I liked it. I'm for it. We need more of that in our lives. But yeah, the one thing that I thought was weird that they have is it's like magic, or I think this is actually a pretty cool concept. There's like magic and technology.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like you have like Orko and the sorceress and Evil Lynn, these people who can do actual magic. And you got the Castle Grayskull, the power of the Castle Grayskull and the magic sword of Castle Grayskull. And then you also have these battle rams that fire lasers out. So it's like at one point they're like super technologically advanced, like even more than we are. But then at another point, they're all just running around wearing underwear because I guess they haven't invented clothes yet.
And it's perpetually 85 degrees there.
Right.
Otherwise they'd be hating life. Well, no, but then He-Man wears full clothes. He-Man wears like this, like purple,
super tight when he's
lavender yoga pants. Or something.
You would think he would try and hide how buff he is, by wearing something baggier, but he doesn't. The king and queen seem to have clothes,
Right.
In all cartoons, you wear the same thing every day, but
they must have air conditioning in Eternia, in the kingdom of Eternia,
in the castle.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. Well, Darnell, let's take a minute and talk about you, if you're okay with that.
I'm okay with that. Cool.
Awesome. So first things first, you're an actor.
Yes.
Originally from Detroit, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
What made you want to become an actor?
I started acting back in high school, doing plays, and I went to college, and I said, you know what, I'm not going to do it. That's it. And then I auditioned for a play, And I was like, what am I doing? So I just more and more and more. And then one day I told everybody, I'm moving to Hollywood. And they were like, what? I'm surrounded by all it's very interesting. You're surrounded by all these people that are acting. I'm doing a play, and this is what they do, and this is what they would love to do. And I was like, okay, I'm moving to Hollywood. And they were shocked. They were like, they had never met people that actually did that, So, and then I moved here, and the rest is history. I tell people all the time, if you see me on TV, you're watching TV way too hard. I say my couple of lines, and I hope that they keep me around for the rest of the show or the rest of whatever I'm shooting after I say my lines. But I still enjoy it, even, I just have my small parts, a commercial actor, but it's great. I love what I do, and I think we're all blessed to be able to do what we love. Not many people in their lives get that. So even if it's just looking forward to that day a year, or that day a month, or that day, and we all would like that day every day, But yeah, I love what I do. It's a lot of fun. So.
What was? Do you remember your first acting gig when you moved to LA? Whether it was the very first student short film you were cast in, or your first background job, or what was it?
My first line I got. I had to audition. I had been doing that extra work, and I'd been out all night doing extra work. I got a call as soon as I went to bed for an audition. Luckily, it was almost directly across the street from where I live in Hollywood.
Nice.
So I walked over there, and I got the part, and it was on In Living Color. And
wow, cool.
Yeah. So this is at the time. Everybody loved this show. And
yeah.
It's a great show. It's hilarious. And the thing about it was...
Not me. Hated it.
I know.
Just kidding. I loved it.
I would watch it religiously.
That was just the two men, whatever reference.
Right.
Yeah.
Continue.
Men on Film.
Yeah, Men on Film. There it is.
And so I go ahead and I audition and I get the part. And it was a rare thing because I was kind of like the joke in the scene. And it's very rare because you got all these talented actors, Damon and Jim Carrey, all these funny people. But because I looked like the part that they needed, I kind of got the joke in the skit. And it goes through, and it's the first time I put on a dress for television. And so
the first
time I put on a dress, and there's a second time. And so I wore a dress, and so that was the joke. There was more to it, but make a long story short. And so I told everybody, I'm going to be on Living Color. The first episode of Living Color comes out this season. I'm going to be. They never showed it.
They cut the whole sketch.
They didn't show the scene at all. And I checked the DVD extras. I've been checking since that show, so they never showed it. So at that point in my life, because I told everybody I ever met in my life that I was going to be on that show, I never tell people when I'm doing it.
Yeah.
After it comes out, I'll tell you. It's something. And the second time I wore a dress, I did the show, and I got a pilot for the show, and I'm a recurring character on the show, and I play a bad guy who pushes a button, and I can make myself look like anybody. So I push a button and make myself look like this really attractive girl, and the good guys follow me, and I throw them in a cage, and I push the button, and boom. I'm, back to Darnell in the dress. Hilarious, and it's a good part. And that was going to be the kind of the thing every week. I would turn myself into somebody to trap these guys. It was the Jonas Brothers. So, and it was the pilot for the show. This was when the writer's strike happened.
Oh, no.
And they said, you know what? We're not going to do it because the writer's strike took so long, and they just didn't do it. And they had picked it up too, so. Again, second time I wore a dress and they didn't show it. And I happen to think I look good in a dress. And
or a kilt. We've
on
seen
this
you in
outfit.
we've seen you in a kilt.
Absolutely. So I think they missed out on a great opportunity for great ratings. Those two guys.
Their loss. Yeah.
Exactly. So and you guys know this. That's the life of an actor. You just go.
Yeah.
You know, you have highs and you have lows, and but as long as you love what you're doing, that's all that matters. Really.
At least you got the paychecks.
And you get the paycheck. So
Yeah.
you're hoping that they keep you around
Usually.
for the rest of the week or the rest of the shoot or whatever you're doing. You're like, oh, I know I said my line yesterday, but are you going to need me tomorrow? You know. So yeah, and we're all Star Trek fans, and I was lucky enough to work a couple of shows where the Phlox, what's his name?
Dr. Phlox on Enterprise.
Dr. Phlox. What's his name?
Dr. Phlox, yeah.
John Billingsley.
Yes, Billingsley.
Mm.
I was doing Malcolm and Eddie, and you know, it was a sitcom, and I was playing Master P's bodyguard. So I'm a bodyguard for him, and John Billingsley has a line. I think he arrests me on there, and afterwards, you know, I said, "Wow, man, you were so good." I mean, he really was. You can just he just had like one or two lines. You know, I think I may even have more lines than him, which is, you know, but and I was like, wow, he was so good. Next thing I know, I see him on Star Trek, and I was like, wow, yeah, he definitely deserved it, because I could see just in the small role that he had. And one time I did a show, and Tony Todd was on the show. I did I played a lot of bodyguards. I play a lot of people that beat people up. And Terry Crews. Can you imagine, as big as Terry Crews is, I'm playing Terry Crews' bodyguard.
Wow.
I get to beat somebody up on the show. And Tony Todd was on that episode. So
Tony Todd is a big fellow himself. He's like 6'5".
Yeah, he may be a little bit taller than me, definitely. So we weren't in the scene together though. But it's a great thing about that episode. A great friend of mine, Christopher B. Duncan, was on that show. It was called The District. We did the episode, and so it's fun. You work in this business, and you live around here, and you do all these plays, and you get to work with your friends, like you two. You know, I'm very lucky to be able to just do anything to keep it going and to have fun. And I love what I do. It's great.
And then you get to compare Trapjaw and Tila's body positioning, the thrust or the reception. No, but you're a great actor. Everybody out there that is looking for a great actor that can act in a dress, that can act out of a dress, whatever you want. Either way, Darnell can do it. He's awesome.
I had on heels too in the second one, so I could do dress.
Wow.
Yeah.
And he's great on set too, by the way. No fuss, no muss. Great dude.
Thank you very much, guys.
We're going to include all your goodies and your links in the description box below. So if anybody wants to get in touch with Darnell or follow him, cyberspacely.
Ah.
I think it's on Facebook as Darnell Davis Actor, I think it is.
Okay.
Yeah. So
just go in the description box. We'll have it all for you guys, so you can.
Somebody will put it in there. One of us.
Yeah.
One of us, probably Mike. Definitely Mike. But let's move forward now. This is the final portion of the podcast of the day. It's really cool. We like to call it.
This is where we get down to the bottom line.
The terrible twos.
Well, it's actually called the bottom line. Is actually
well, technically it's called the bottom line, but technically it's the terrible twos.
The bottom line, right?
Okay. So
I like both of those guys. It sounds. I can't. If I were to weigh, like
bottom line.
Both of them. They're both bottom lead and two choices. So the bottom two line may be the.
Yeah,
great.
good.
That's not a bad one.
Yeah, the bottom two. the terrible
Finally,
lines.
We've fallen all the way to the bottom
tower.
Two.
So here are the final two questions. Some call them the terrible twos, like Mike does.
I don't.
Others don't. So question number 1 is...
I call them the bottom line.
Scale of 1 to 10, what would you call He-Man, the Diamond Ray of Disappearance? Scale of 1 to 10, Michael.
I would give this a 7. It's just an even 7. Darnell?
For me, I'd have to go different ratings for different times of my life. 2020, I'd give it, unfortunately, 1.5. 1983, when it came out, I'd give it probably a 6. And if it came out when I was like 5 to 10, I probably would have gave it a 9.5. So
those are all fair ratings.
So right now you're giving it a 1.5.
Is that what I said? 1.5? I went that high? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Ryan looks wounded.
Yeah, no links in the description box anymore. Never mind.
Double links. Got it.
For me, scale of 1 to 10, all around, yeah, looking at it through the lens of whatever, like a 3.5. Psych out. Total 80s psych out.
I wasn't even psyched that time. I knew that was coming.
I mean, again, objectively speaking, even, I'm looking at it through the lens of a 1983 cartoon. It's for children. It gets a 9 from me because it introduces all the characters. It's fun. It has a great world. It's great for marketing. It has toys for all ages. But yeah, it's
not
great.
surprised. I'm not surprised at all by that.
Yeah, it's got everything you need. It's got all these cool characters, a cool world. It has magic. It has all this stuff. It'd be cooler if they would actually fight and actually do stuff. But that's not really what this show is about. It's about the world and the characters more than it's about the actual action. It's a 9 from me, straight up 9. So for the purposes of this podcast, question number 2 is that you had to watch the first episode of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, 1983. But now that the podcast is over, would you watch the second episode of your own volition, Michael?
Nope. No, I'm good.
What about you, Darnell? Michael said he would. Would you?
That's what I thought I heard him say. I thought he said he was going to watch. He was probably watching it as we're speaking.
Yeah.
I think that's what he said. For me, I actually was planning on watching the whole first season when you told me what we were watching. And I watched the first episode and I was going to watch it again. And I said, no, I've had enough. So I think I've had my nostalgia for the day or for the week or for the month. And I'm going to, leave it with that.
All right, Ryan. Are we gonna have a clean sweep here, or are you gonna save He-Man from the likes of us treacherous Skeletors?
Okay. So, yes, the lens of 2020. I get that you guys are grumpy because it's there's pandemics and everybody's all stressed out, and I know you're lashing out at He-Man right now. I get that. I understand that it's not a reflection of He-Man, it's a reflection of how you feel inside.
Oh, all right.
That being said, I
gave it a 7.
I also would not watch the second episode because psych! I got you for real this time. Psych out. I would watch the second episode. I would watch it 3 times to cover you, Michael, and to cover you, Darnell. I would watch it for all of us.
All right, do it.
Nah, I just watch it once. Yes, I would. I would watch the second. I would watch everything. I would watch the whole freaking thing. I would watch it while I'm working out and be like, hey man, it's Ram Man Mayonnaise Guy. Here comes Stratos. I I think I only liked the bad guys, honestly.
By the way, they
were the ones that looked the coolest.
65 episodes in season 1.
Wow,
And another
I made it through that.
And another like 60 or so in season 2.
And they were airing them like every day in between September and December 1983.
Isn't that awesome? They had only 2 seasons, but they had something like 130 episodes.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Right.
A lot of drawing. They must have had carpal tunnel.
Yeah.
They didn't. They just moved the arm, like I said. They didn't. They didn't draw anything. They just kept the same pictures.
So cool. Just look at this guy. That is a cool character. And then they introduced new ones. There's Hordak and the Horde, and there's like Leech, and there's like some guy that spins, and there's a guy that's like a Fisto. I think his name was Fisto, actually.
That's inappropriate.
That's what's his name. I'm pretty sure his name was Fisto or Fister.
Ryan, go ram yourself into a jar of mayonnaise.
Nope. And there was a guy, there was Leech, Mossman. There was a guy named Mossman. There was Mechanic. There was Modulok.
That's amazing. You remember these guys. That's
he said it. He dreams about it. He thinks about it all the time, constantly, always.
Yeah. Wow. I liked almost all the characters except for like the main good guys. They're boring. It's all about the cool characters. I mean, that because it's like they're cool. Like they're monsters. They're monster people. They're robot people. Buzz Off. There was a guy named Buzz Off.
All right. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Tell us what shows you want us to review.
Stinkor. There was Stinkor. There was Faker. Faker was just like He-Man, but he was blue and he had orange hair, but it was the exact same guy. It was like He-Man that was blue and orange. And Skeletor was like, I'm going to make Faker to defeat He-Man or whatever.
Like if you want us to watch She-Ra, right? WTF She-Ra, WTF Frasier or Friends or
WTF
Seinfeld.
Snorks.
Yeah.
Batman the animated series. Spider-Man the animated series.
You could literally suggest anything and we might watch it.
As long as it's a series. It could even be a YouTube series, maybe. And make sure it's in the comment section below, not just in the chat. Because in the chat, we won't see it. That'll be gone in a moment.
No, we don't even look at those afterwards.
I guess what I'm trying to say is that this podcast was an uphill battle against 2 negative Nancys that are letting their frustrations of the world out on this innocent, furry-bunned man, Trapjaw.
Well, we didn't talk about the lesson. I think the lesson of the episode.
Oh, that's right. There was a moral at the end.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you can skip that.
It says, don't sell yourself short. The right way is the best way. And I think Ryan exemplifies this. He's not selling He-Man short. He's sticking
I like to say the best way is the right way. But anyway, what was this podcast to you, Michael?
This podcast was a reality check for Ryan. Psych! Except it was.
Psych?
Darnell,
what was this podcast?
This podcast was hilarious. I just had such a great time laughing at everything you guys had to say. You are 2 of the funniest people I know, and I miss you, Michael. I haven't seen you in forever. It's good to see you, man.
Here I am.
There you go.
Just say psych, dude. It doesn't hurt.
I wasn't going to say psych. I really miss you guys.
Oh, thanks. We miss you too, Darnell.
Yeah, Darnell. You're a beautiful human being.
Thank you
so much. We love you, Darnell.
Appreciate
it. But watch He-Man. Anyway, we'll see you next time. And, give He-Man a chance. Let us know in the comments below what you think of He-Man. What do you think of the show? What do you think of the characters? Have you watched the whole thing? Have you not watched it since you were a little kid? Is it something your brother used to play with the toys and you hated it? Did you make He-Man have sex with your Barbie dolls? Tell us about it. And as Mike likes to say,
don't forget to watch the first only of He-Man of things.
Yeah, there we go. See you next time.